Hello, Room 13. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone's being safe and healthy in their homes. And today I'm back here for another math lesson. I hope my videos are helping everyone understand their assignments. So let's go ahead and get started and see what we're going to be working on today. Today we're going to be working on problem set 15 for lesson 15. It says, let's read the objective. It says, find common units of number of units to compare two fractions. So find common units or number of units to compare two fractions. Okay, let's get started. So let's see. Problem set for lesson 15. I'm going to read the instructions. It says, draw an area model for each pair of fractions and use it to compare the two fractions by writing greater than, less than, or equal to on the line. The first two have been partially done for you. Each rectangle represents one. Okay, so let's do number one together, okay? Number 1A. So the first thing I see here is, looks like we're going to be comparing 1/2 to 2/3, right? And the first area model I would probably do is my half. So I'll do my area model and I'll do 2 parts of my whole, right? Because that's the denominator. And then I will decompose it. Oh, first, you're right. I forgot to shade. I have to shade my half, right? Of course. Then what I would do is I would decompose it, and I'm going to look at the denominator of my other fraction. And that's going to tell me how I'm going to decompose this area model for my first fraction, right? So it looks like I have thirds. So I'll go ahead here and draw horizontal lines. To make thirds. Then I will go ahead and do my other area model for my 2/3. So I'll do my area model and I will try to do it the same size as this one. But now, I'm going to do something a little different. When I create my area model, I'm going to draw it with vertical lines. I'm going to start with vertical lines now. I'm sorry, I'm going to start with horizontal lines. I apologize for that. I'm going to start with horizontal lines. So I'm going to do my thirds. Then I'm going to shade in. How much am I going to shade in? 2, right? Agree or disagree? 1, 2, right? 2/3. Now I'm going to decompose it, and I'm going to look at my other fraction to know how I'm going to decompose this one. It looks like there's 2's here, right? So I'll decompose it by going the opposite way. So I'm going to decompose it that way. What do we think? Agree or disagree? So I have my half here. After I decomposed it, it looks like, what do I have now, boys and girls? it looks like I have 6, right? As my whole. And how many parts are shaded? 1, 2, 3. And my 2/3 are no longer 2/3, right? It looks like I have 6. How many parts of my 6 are shaded now? 4. And I could also I cannot forget, right, that after I decomposed my fractions, I could use multiplication to show that, right? So here, remember when I said I was going to look at my other fraction to see how to decompose it? That's the number that I multiplied by what, right? Multiplied by, right? And here I did the same. I multiplied, but now I multiplied by the denominator in my other fraction, right? Agree or disagree? So now I have 2 fractions with the same denominator. Oh, now that's easier to compare, right? 3/6 compared to 4/6. Now I have the same denominator. Which fraction do you think is bigger? Looks like 4/6, right? So I can go ahead and write that in. Agree or disagree? Shall we do B together? Let's go ahead and do B together. So it says for B, it looks like we have to compare 4/5 and 3/4. 4/5 and 3/4. Now, it looks like they already started our area models for us. So I can go ahead and draw my 2 area models. And I'll try to do them the same size. And looks like we're going to start with 4/5. So this area model will decompose, we'll create it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'll shade in how much? 4th, right? 4/5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, how am I going to decompose it? Well, remember I told you, look at the denominator from the other fraction. So if I look here, looks like I'm going to decompose it into what? Decompose it by 4th, right? Agree or disagree? So I know that I have to decompose it by 4th because that's the denominator of the other fraction. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'll make here 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did Miss Martinez do that? Now this area model, what's my whole here now? I no longer have 5ths, right? Well, I'm going to show you something really neat you can do when you're to find your whole. You can go ahead and count each square if you want, or you can do something really neat. You can count your squares that are going up and down. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 going up and down. Let's see how many are going left to right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's 4 times 5, boys and girls? 20, right? Good job. Now, out of those 20, how many are shaded now? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Up and down. And how many shaded are across? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it looks like 4 times 4, 16, right? 16 are shaded. Agree or disagree? Now I can go ahead and do my area model for my other, for this fraction, 3/4, right? So it looks like this time, remember, we're going to start with horizontal lines, and it looks like I have fourths, right? I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to shade in how much? 3. 1, 2, 3. Now, how am I going to decompose this area model? Oh, I'm going to look at the denominator from the other fraction, right? Which is this one. Now I'm going to look at this one. So it looks like I have to do what? Fifths, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead on I'm going to go now vertical, right? The opposite. And I have to do fifths. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Agree or disagree? Well, now my 3/4 are no longer 3/4. What's my new hole for this area model now? Well, should we do that cool trick I told you? Sure. Up and down, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And left to right is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's 4 times 5? 20, right? And how much of that is shaded now? Let's see. 1, 2, 3 are up and down. 3 are up and down. 3 rows are shaded. And left to right, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's 3 times 5? 15, right? So I know that 4/5 is equivalent to 16/20, right? And why? Because we did our area model, but we also know that we could multiply, right? That we multiplied. What did we multiply by? Remember when we created our area model and we decomposed it, we looked at the denominator from the other fraction. So here we multiplied by 4. Is that true, boys and girls? Is 5 times 4 20? Is 4 times 4 16? Check. Sure is. And now my 3/4, we know that they are equivalent to 15/20 because we multiplied and we created the area model. We multiplied. What did we multiply by? 5. And here we also multiplied by 5, right? Because if you do it to the top, you have to do it to the bottom. You got it. Oh, now we have the same denominators. Now we can compare them because it's easier to compare them, right? When they have that in common. So what do we think? if these two were, let's pretend, what should they be? Pop-Tarts. Would you rather have 16 pieces or 15 pieces out of both Pop-Tarts that are cut into 20s? I think 16, right? So that means 4/5 is greater than 3/4. Agree or disagree? Awesome. Let's go ahead and do, let's go ahead and do number 2. Let's do number 2 together. Let's see. It says, rename the fractions as needed, using multiplication in order to compare each pair of fractions by writing greater than, less than, or equal. Okay, let's do 2a together. So let's see. Oh, sorry about that. Let's see, it looks like we have to compare 3/5 to 5/6. Now, here they're asking us to use multiplication and maybe not necessarily use an area model. Do you think we can do that, boys and girls? Do you think we can do that? I think I sure do. So why don't we go ahead and do that? Well, Miss Martinez, wait a minute, Miss Martinez, what are we multiplying by? Oh, remember that when we're multiplying, we can look at the denominator of the other fraction, right? So here I'll look at this. I'll look at the 6. So I know that I can take my 3/5 and multiply by 6. And remember, if I do it to the top, I have to do it to the bottom, right? Agree or disagree? So I'll multiply by 6 here. I'll multiply by 6 here. And if we multiply, what's 3 times 6? Yep, you got it. 18. And what's 5 times 6? Yep, 30. Check. Now let's see what we can do with the 5/6. Now I'm going to take my 5/6 and I'm going to multiply. What am I going to multiply by, boys and girls? Well, remember, we're going to look at the denominator of the other fraction. So that means I'm going to look at this one, right? So that means I'm going to multiply by 5. And if I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top. If I do it to the top, I have to do it to the bottom, right? Now I know that, what's 5 times 5, boys and girls?